Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome to this mini review of a reveal for Dark Phantasma. So it is a set featuring Hisuian Zoroark, and it is basically a mini set that's going to be coming out in Japan pretty shortly, in about March. And it will join another set called Lost Abyss, which hasn't been officially revealed yet, but is known to contain Giratina VSTAR. And that will join Lost Abyss to form our set in August, which is called Lost Origins. So this is quite far away. We won't see these cards in English until like August, so nothing terribly big to worry about, I guess. But if you want to start like maybe thinking about future reveals and coming up with deck ideas to maybe test over the summer, then this is a good place to start. So we do see like in the mini set battle region, there will be these Pokeball artworks in the Holo patterns, which is pretty cool. And it's also seeing the return of Radiant Pokemon like God of War. So, for those of you who don't know what Radiant Pokemon are, they're essentially the sparkling rares that revealed a little while ago. We've seen Hawlucha, we've seen Heatran, and we've seen Greninja. And there was a little bit of a worry we wouldn't see any more Radiant sparkling Pokemon because it was only three. It was only going to be three in the next set. But in this set, they have confirmed there is going to be at least one more God of War, and hopefully we will see. Sorry, we will see some more sparkling rare Pokemon revealed at some point. So moving on, we have a Gengar line. Ghastly, nothing too amazing. Free retreat is always nice to have though. A Haunter that has the attack curse drop, allowing to put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. It's quite nice, just softens them up a bit. And then we have the Gengar, which is surprisingly decent stage 2. Like, it's nothing groundbreaking by any means, but it is playable. So off the bat, we have retreat cost of 2, resistance to fighting is alright. The weak to dark is a bit of a pain, especially considering we have 120 HP, so stuff like Galarian Moltres really will just chew through this guy. But it has the ability creeping back that says once in your turn, if you may put this card from your discard pile onto your bench. And if you do, you put 3 damage counters on this Pokemon. So it's very reminiscent of Giratina with Distortion Door from back in the days of Lost Thunder, if anyone remembers that set. So pretty interesting effect because it means you don't necessarily actually have to play the Haunter Ghastly line. You could just play Gengar on its own, although you may want to include a thin line of Ghastly Haunter anyway in the deck. But then this ability does mean that you'll have multiple uses of Gengar. It's not just like if you have a thin line of Gengar in your deck and it dies, then you'll never get it up and running again. If that makes sense, you can kind of just pop it onto the bench. And this ability is also a really good partner for the Hisuian Zoroark V-Star, which we'll review later on. So really cool card, like a cool ability. And then the attack is like nothing terrible. Shrieking Circle for a single Psychic Energy says put 2 damage counters on your opponent's active Pokemon for each of their bench Pokemon. So initially I was like, okay, this kind of sucks a bit. It's not really doing enough damage, and it doesn't hit weakness. Because like one of the cool things about this card is, in theory, if you wanted to hit Psychic Weakness, you could like just tech one in, then slot it onto the bench after you discarded it. But no, Shrieking Circle, just putting damage counters is actually surprisingly good. It will get through a lot of like resistant magic. I want to say magic resistance because I've been playing too much other games, but just like effects that say this attack does 30 less damage or whatever. This will just go through that, so I think that's pretty cool. And there's also there'll be opportunities, especially in the late game when your opponent has already like a massive board set up. Then putting 2 damage counters is going to be pretty strong because, well, it's just the active Pokemon. But for each bench Pokemon, I should say, is where it's at. So yeah, it could be pretty cool. And also the Torterra deck as well that likes to have a bench full of evolution Pokemon. This is like a lot easier to pull off than in Polygon. So maybe Exodia Gengar turn 2 could be pretty cool. But either way, Radiant Gardevoir is a surprisingly good card. So as we've mentioned earlier, Radiant Pokemon are these new form of ultra rares. You can't have more than one Radiant Pokemon in your deck. That's a big thing. So you have to choose between this guy, Hawlucha, Heatran, and Greninja. For those of you who don't know, Greninja says discard energy from your hand, draw 2 cards. Hawlucha says your attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active VMAX. And Radiant Gardevoir says your Pokemon take 20 less damage from your opponent's Pokemon Vs. I mean, they're all really playable, honestly. I think this one's pretty good. It's definitely going to be good in those like tanky, like resistant decks where you just slot this in Draladon or something, and all those other big bulky decks, because it's fine. You can find this guy with Quick Ball, but it also has 130 HP, so it's not exactly like a weakling. So your opponent has to consider what attack they're using. They have to boss it up. They have to take a prize. It's nothing like, oh yeah, this is going to give up 2 prize cards. It's a bench liability. This is literally just slap it on the bench, gives it 1 prize. It's pretty cool. And then Psychic does 70 damage, and then this attack does 20 more for each energy card attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, not doing a whole lot of damage, but it's at like 130 or something. I mean, it's not like amazing by any stretch of imagination, but if they have 3 energy, and you have, for example, a choice belt, you're doing 160. 160 has always been a magic number for me because it allows you to get like 2 hit kills on everything. So, well, most things at least. So, like, that's not awful, to be honest. There is a couple of attackers running around like a Eternatus and Ice Rider who will only ever have 2 energy attached to them, which sucks a bit, but not an awful attack to have. Obviously, you're not going to be playing this card in every deck to use that attack. You will just be taking it in for the ability, but it is pretty cool and we'll probably see play. So moving on a little bit, we see the non sort of rare, ultra rare version of the Hisuian Zoroark line. Hisuian Zora, very nice artwork, just has the free attack collect, which lets you draw a card. And then Hisuian Zoroark has a pretty interesting set of attacks. None of them do actual damage, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Hex of Ruin, for a free attack cost, says at the end of your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon is knocked out. So where I could see this being pretty good is in these kind of like control decks where you play Sea King, where you play Zoroark, and you play Babarrel and Cincino and all that good stuff, and you basically just kind of build your strategy around choosing which stage 1 you want to put into play to like control the opponent. So there's like the Float Stool that retrieves items, there's Sea King to discard energy, and then Cincino to discard more cards and find what you want. So yeah, I don't think this is a particularly awful effect to have in that deck, especially since it's a free attack cost. So even if you don't play it for the other effect, which is again a very control oriented kind of effect, but yeah, Hex of Ruin, not awful card, not an attack. Sorry, not an awful attack, and not an awful card really. It's just like maybe a bit too niche for standard right now, but in control maybe it could be pretty good. Hisuian Zoroark V has no thing. Big thing for me is that Hisuian Zoroark is colors type. So yeah, you immediately have to point out we have access to Charon's Care, we have access to Powerful Colors Energy, although Powerful Colors Energy will be rotating out in September, roughly 2 weeks, I think, before we will see any of these in English. I think that's right. So yeah, something to bear in mind. But Powerful Colors will be around for a little bit. And then Holo Swap does 30 damage. You may switch his Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, and the Shadow Cyclone does 130, and then you move 1 energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So Shadow Cyclone, really vanilla card, really vanilla attack, sorry, getting cards and attacks mixed up again. But 130, really not impressive, we don't care about that. The Holo Swap though, doing 30 for free is good on its own, and then the fact that you can just switch out is pretty cool because there will be games where you start this in the active and you're just like, flipping heck, I really don't want to start Zoroark. I want to start like Arceus to use Trinity Charge. I want to start what's another good example? I don't know, Hooper. Maybe you're playing Hooper in this deck, and you just you want to switch into Hooper for next turn, or like a Tapu Koko for free retreat. So yeah, I think this is a pretty cool effect to have on an evolving VSTAR. Hisuian Zoroark VSTAR itself though has 270 HP, so it's up there with the more bulkier ones. Not quite 280, but 270 is probably where you want to be aiming for really. Has weakness to fighting like its predecessor, and the retreat cost of 2. So Air Balloon synergy for the amount of time we still have Air Balloon, so we'll probably see a reprint of Air Balloon or Floatstone. Hopefully Floatstone. I like Floatstone. But anyway, weakness to fighting actually sucks. Does mean that cards like Lucario, the baby one, the new one, the V-Star, I should say, Urshifu coming in there. Yep, all the bears, bit of a problem, but I'm sure we'll manage. Playful Curse, though, for 2 colorless energy, does 50 damage for each of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. So, easy math, if you have a full bench of damage Pokemon, it does 250. And if you have all your Pokemon with damage counters, it does 300. So, yeah, I mean, with the belt, that's 330. The only problem is you're probably paying double turbo to pay for this attack cost, or using Melanie maybe, but double turbo is probably where it's at because you'll probably play like Arceus in this deck or something, and then at that point you can do like mass amounts of damage. Where I like this card is that its ability as well is just really consistent. It's Professor's Research. Anyone who's played the game for more than a week or so and knows what Professor's Research does, the VSTAR power is literally just Professor's Research. And initially I was like, okay, that's really boring. That's actually pretty bad. But then you suddenly realize, okay, that means I can now essentially play a Professor's Research in my turn through this ability and then play a Boss's Order or like a Clara or a Piers, for example, if you're searching for Pokemon or Special Energy. There is like a lot of ways where I think this is pretty cool. The attack itself has me a little bit worried. I know a lot of people are like, okay, S tier, amazing, top broken tier deck. I don't think it's that amazing. I think it's a bit of a victim of early reveal hype. But having said that, there is like plenty of ways to damage your bench Pokemon right now. There's Lucario that literally just damages itself. There's the Gengar we just saw. That could be like a cool rogue deck where you use a supporter, which is soon to be revealed down here, that says search your deck for 3 evolution Pokemon without a Roblox. So you can search for like 3 Gengars, use this ability, discard them all, then put them all into the bench, and then suddenly you're doing 150 more damage just because you played a supporter. Like, there is like cool effects like that. It's just the fact you're weakness to fighting, the fact you're hitting nothing for weakness, and the fact that you're never doing guaranteed damage, I think is the word I'm looking for here. Yeah, guaranteed damage. Maybe it ends up being a lot better than I think, though. There is a stadium coming out in our next set, so in our set in May, that says when you bench a Pokemon, you put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. So maybe you play like a weird kind of Gengar, Zoroark, maybe with Inteleon or something, and then maybe you don't even need Gengar at that point, but you just use the stadium to start damaging your bench Zoroarks and things, and play a barrel for extra consistency or something, and alternate attackers like Moltres. Even play the new whatchamacallit, because you are playing 2 colors, so you could just play Melanie if you really wanted to, or even the new Gardenia. For those of you who don't know, Gardenia lets you draw 2 cards and attach up to 2 grass energy to one of your bench Pokemon. So there is obviously Gardenia synergy, there's Melanie synergy, so you can pair this with a lot. Like, you can actually pair this with a lot of guys. It's just yeah, will it ever be good enough to be hitting that threshold of, 2 curing everything consistently every turn? So yeah, food for thought. Hisuian Goodra V, moving on a bit because I spent ages on Zoroark. Hisuian Goodra has 220 HP, which is nice. Retreat cost of 3 is awful, but having no weakness is a pretty plus side in the game right now. Toppling Goo does 60 damage, and your opponent's switches are active with one of their bench Pokemon. It's alright, it's fine, it's whatever. It's for water metal, so you can use Melanie. And then Shell Roll Out does 140, and then it takes 30 less during the next turn. Nothing terribly impressive. But Hisuian Goodra VSTAR does 200 damage for 3 energy, right? And during your next turn, he takes 80 less damage. We've already seen a Gardevoir that says you take 20 less. We're about to see a stadium that says if you have a Water Fighting, you take 20 less. So I do think there's potential for a filthy rogue deck here. Even if you don't play this stadium and you play like Crystal Caves for healing, because remember you're a Dragon Pokemon, or you play the upcoming Temple of Sinnoh to switch off special energies because this is like a tanky control deck, then you're still taking 100 less if you just have the Gardevoir in play. Like, I don't know. I think this has potential. I genuinely think this has potential because you can 2-hit KO, you're taking a lot less, and if you ever get it to the point where your opponent has to like 3-shot you or something, you've got them right where you want them because you can just heal. You have the amazing V-Star power Moisture Star that says you may use ability once your turn, heal or damage. So I could see this being like a 4-4 Goodra line, and then maybe 1 Radiant Gardevoir, and then you play like just a bunch of Melanie and Pokegears, Energy Lotto that's seeing a reprint, just a bunch of that stuff, and just really annoying tank your opponent. Like, you do have 270, so you're kind of bulky. No weakness is huge, obviously, so yeah, pretty cool. Damage Pump says, sure that's supposed to be Pump, but Pump is fine, I guess. Move up to 2 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to another Pokemon any way you like. This is obviously supposed to be like synergy for Zoroark, but I don't think it will be played in that deck. Maybe it's a one-off if you're playing like an Inteleon line or Arceus, so you can easily tutor it out. But it is pretty cool to know because you have obviously stuff like Gengar. We mentioned the Gate Patrol Bog earlier that says when you bench something, you put 2 damage counters, so you can at least manipulate the damage spread in some way, which is cool. Lake Acuity or Acuity, I don't know how you pronounce that. Switch, no, I read Switch instead of Stadium. Don't know what's wrong with me today. Pokemon with water or fighting energy attached to them take 20 less damage from the opponent's Pokemon's attacks. I could sit here all day and list examples as to why this is a good stadium. What I will say is it better than you running Path to the Peak? Is it better than you running Training Court? We'll need to find out. But obviously in these tankier decks, like maybe even Urshifu might want to play this because you're just saying, oh, my big brother bear now has like 340 HP or something, 350 technically. So yeah, I do think this is pretty cool. It doesn't have this is before or after weakness. I would love to see the translation. If it's before or after, that could be pretty huge actually. So I do think this is important, especially for the tanky decks. But yeah, if you wanted to, you could start theorizing about how this could fit into Hisuian Goodra and start tanking. Iscan says draw 2 cards. The opponent's active has Hisuian in its name. Draw 2 more. I'm obviously just gonna say if you're going down the route of like quad Goodra or like some sort of quad Zoroark, but you play like a couple of other Hisuian Pokemon, like the Hisuian Quillfish that poisons for 0 attack cost and does 5 damage counters. Yeah, I could see this being okay. It's not like overtly top tier broken supporter card, but it is kind of similar to Kabu in that if you have fewer Pokemon play, you are drawing more. So I don't think it's particularly awful. And then Arzu says, Arzu? So search your deck for up to 3 evolution Pokemon that don't have a rule box, reveal them, and then put them into your hand. So I don't think a lot of people like this card because it's like, why are you wasting a supporter to find evolution Pokemon? We have like plenty of ways to do that. As far as I'm aware, I think we are losing evolution incense going into the next format. If we are, that's pretty big. But also this just means that you can find Inteleons, you can find Drizzile, I should say, so you can find them, which then find items, which find other Pokemon that you need. So you can like set up really fast. It's also kind of good in those like weird. I know this is like not strictly top tier or anything, of course, but in those like weird meme decks like Santaconda, where you just want to find like 3 of your 4 Pokemon that you have in your deck or something weird. So I do think there's some at least kind of potential for these supporters. They're not like absolute trash. So I do think that's pretty cool. Overall thoughts on the reveals, I think they're all pretty cool. I'm more of a fan of Goodra just because I can kind of see a quad deck forming with the Stadium and I guess Gardevoir, so it's not really a quad deck if you want to be picky. Yep, that's aimed at someone who replied to me on YouTube just to tell me that. Yep. Hisuian Zoroark, I think, has a lot of applications, whether it's just with Arceus, just with Inteleon, just with Gape Bog, even just with Gengar as a rogue deck. You know, I do think there's like a lot of potential here. It's just, you know, it's going to need testing, I think, to see how good it actually is. And then the niche Hisuian Zoroark for control, and then Radiant Gardevoir is kind of like, this could be good. This genuinely could be really good in a lot of decks, and then Gengar is pretty roguish. So won't be a long time before we see this in English, but hope you all enjoyed today's video. I certainly have. It's been refreshing to go back into reviewing stuff, but I'll see you all next time, and it's been Empower. Thank you for watching.